The Gospel of Jesus Christ according to St. Luke. Luke chapter 10 verses 38 to 42. At that time, Jesus entered a village, where a woman named Martha welcomed him into her home. She had a sister named Mary, who sat at the Lord's feet listening to his teaching. Meanwhile, Martha was distracted by all the preparations and came to Jesus saying, "Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do the work alone? Tell her to help me." But the Lord answered her, "Martha, Martha, you are worried and upset about many things. But only one thing is needed. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her." A healing reflection based on Luke chapter 10 verses 38 to 42. Only one thing is needed. Part 1. When your soul becomes too busy. Dear friend, have you ever felt like Martha? Rushing from one task to another all day, wanting to do good, care for others, and keep everything in order. But the harder you try, the more exhausted you become, and at times, you feel unseen. Why doesn't anyone understand me? Why am I carrying all this alone? Lord, where are you in my weariness? Martha was like this too. She welcomed Jesus into her home, then hurried into cooking, preparing, cleaning. She wasn't wrong or selfish, she was hospitable and caring. But in that fatigue and frustration, she cried out, "Lord, don't you care?" When our hearts are overly troubled, filled with anxieties and distractive thoughts, even the presence of the Lord grows dim. We start blaming others, even God. Peace slips away, replaced by the noise of duty, performance, and expectation. Consider a single mother I once heard of, juggling 2 jobs to support her 3 kids. She woke early, worked long hours, returned home to laundry, cooking, helping with homework. One evening, mid-dinner, she broke into tears. Her youngest child asked gently what was wrong, but she just shook her head. Deep down, she felt like a clock winding down completely. That night, opening her Bible, she found Luke chapter 10 verses 38 to 42. Martha, Martha, seemed to call her by name. In the silence, she sensed that God knew every weary moment, and was inviting her to pause, to truly live rather than merely exist. Part 2. The Lord never condemns, He softly calls your name. When Martha's complaints rose, Jesus didn't scold, He simply said, "Martha, Martha," like a mother gently calling to her lost, worried child. The Lord's voice often doesn't come as thunder or blinding light, but as a soft call, a compassionate look, a touch of presence. In Scripture, God frequently calls people by name with tender invitation. Samuel, 1 Samuel chapter 3 verse 10. Saul, Acts chapter 9 verse 4. Each call was a call to return to one's true self, to rest in God's peace. Jesus didn't tell Martha to stop serving. Instead, He reminded her what really mattered. She had invited Him in, but forgot to sit with Him. She was busy serving, but forgot to listen. There's a story of a successful businessman during Lent who shared, "I thought ambition was everything. But as I ran faster, I felt more empty. One day I slipped into a small church downtown, sat there unsure what to pray, and I realized I was being called back, not to a home, but to my true self. Back to God." Part 3. Mary wasn't lazy, she chose the essential. Mary's choice was not neglect, but a wisdom that sees what can't be taken away, time with the Lord. a calm presence, an intimate communion that endures beyond noise. In a quiet convent, an elderly nun often spent afternoons sitting silently before the Blessed Sacrament. A younger sister once asked, "Sister, what do you pray for so long?" She smiled gently. "Sometimes we don't need words. We just sit, letting him look at us, and we look at him. And that is enough." Mary understood this. She refused to be pulled into superficial urgencies or judged by what she should achieve. She simply sat, with her whole heart. And such presence pleased Jesus more than any elaborate hospitality. Today's world calls for multitasking, doing more with less time, but the soul cannot multitask. The heart needs one thing: real presence. And that is what Mary chose. Part 4. Learning to rest with the Lord. A young woman shared that every morning she set aside 10 minutes to open her Bible. Read one verse, then remain silent. At first, she was restless, unfamiliar, but eventually, she sensed a change: more peace, less impatience, greater compassion for others. She said, "God didn't change my circumstances, but He changed my heart." Resting with Jesus doesn't require complexity. Sometimes, just a simple phrase like, "Lord, I feel tired today," or, "Please stay with me." No ritual required, just an honest heart. Saint Teresa of Lisieux once said, "For me, prayer is a gaze toward heaven, a cry of gratitude and love in the midst of suffering and joy alike." It's beautiful and beautifully simple. Part 5. Relearning a rhythm of grace. A renowned conductor once said, "A piece of music lies not in the notes, but in the silence between them." Spiritual life is much the same, not just in what we do, but in the gaps, the rests, where the soul is healed, realigned, breathed. You might begin again by taking 5 minutes each day to listen to yourself and to the Lord. In the morning, on the bus, before sleep, a small window of sincerity can redirect an entire day. When you choose the better part, you invest in what cannot be lost. Fame may fade, money may slip away, health may fail, but intimacy with Christ, He promised, it will not be taken away. Conclusion. Martha, today the Lord is calling your name. You may be overwhelmed, exhausted, thinking, "If I don't do it, who will?" But God doesn't want you to bear the world alone. He wants you to live, not just exist. To love, not just perform. Today, in your home, Jesus is still there, gentle, patient, waiting for the moment you place your hand on your heart and say, "I choose the better part. I choose to remain with you." May the Lord grant you the grace to pause, to choose what is essential, and to rediscover a peace that no one can take away. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken from her.